is Meera Hoffman, and in this video we're going to be going over some techniques for Thai massage on the table, specifically for the back. So if you have any back pain, low back or upper back, these will be some great techniques that you can incorporate into your practice. So we'll begin by warming up the back with our traditional palm pressing. This is a very common technique in Thai massage. And we're going to palm press on either side of the spine, walking our hands from the shoulders all the way down to the low back and hips. So taking your time to really sink in and walk slowly. When you reach down to the hips and sacrum, you can give a nice press. Just kind of decompresses the spine and tilts the sacrum in a different direction. It feels really nice. And then we'll walk back up. Coming all the way up to the tops of the shoulders. And then our next step is going to be working the sin lines of the back. So these energy lines that run throughout the body in Thai massage are called sin lines. And the first set of sin lines for the back runs immediately adjacent to the spine. So definitely don't want to be pressing into bone here, but working as closely as possible on either side of the spine into the muscles. So my thumb presses are moving down the spine, jumping maybe about an inch each step. And just holding for a moment before releasing. Again, remembering to come into your own breath as you do these techniques, and taking nice deep inhalations and exhalations as you work. Coming all the way down to the hips and sacrum, and then we can come back up the second line. So you have the option, if you want to thumb down the first line and then back up, that's fine. Or if you want to transition to the second line, you can do that as well. So the second line is just a little ways out from the first line, about one thumb width away from that inner line. And you're using the client's thumb as a gauge, so not your own. Working all the way up to the tops of the shoulders. And then I'm going to move again out a little bit to the third line. And the third line is actually closer to 2 thumb widths out, so it's quite a bit further away from the first and second line. You'll notice that there's not as much muscular tissue on this third line to work into, so not as much pressure is needed. And it still feels really good to the receiver. And if you're doing one line up and down, second line up and down, and then third line up and down, you would end with palm pressing up and down. And if you were doing the snake, which is kind of what I was showing you, up line 1, back on line 2, then the next line 3, we will palm press back up the back in one pass. And sometimes I like to palm press out the tops of the shoulders, widening the position of my hands and coming back together. And we can do one full walk there and back if you've not done that already. Feeling free to pause again, decompressing the sacrum a little bit more this time. And then walking back up. And my hands are retracing those lines. So really trying to focus with intention, kind of walking and smoothing out that more focused work we did with our thumbs. And palm pressing out the shoulders. Just kind of moving the client's hair a little bit out of the way. So now that we've done the palm presses and the thumb presses, we're going to come down the side to do a palm press walk. So I'll start with a nice just kind of opening, saying hello. One hand on top of the shoulders and one at the top of the hips. Then I'm going to bring my lower hand to cup underneath the hip bone. And my upper hand, I'm going to press on the far side of the spine. So this is like palm pressing one set of the lines, but we've added a little rock at the hip. So I'm lifting and pulling the client's far hip towards me, placing my hand down as I rock forward. Go all the way up. If you'd like, you can transition to the lower part of the rib cage, just making sure if you're working on a female to grab at the lowest point possible, so you're not encroaching on any personal space. So we palm walk that side. Now we're going to come on to the opposite side and do a nice stretch and decompression. And then our lower hand is going to scoop underneath the hips, while our upper hand presses along the far side of the spine. Rock towards, place hand and rock down. And then moving the hand up to the lower part of the rib cage. This is working those muscles that help hold the spine up, the erectors, and it feels really nice. And then again, just creating that sense of continuity between the two sides. And kind of glue those movements together with a small set of palm walks down the back. And a lot of people ask, why do we do so many palm walks? You know, we've already done that. Why would I want to do it again? And really, with each time you do it, you're working deeper as the muscles start to relax and warm up. So the impact of this move is received at a deeper level. And it's also a good just litmus test for you. You know, you'll start to notice and feel the muscles relaxing. Or if you notice that they're still holding at a point, then that's information for me that the client may need more specific work in that area that still feels tight. So we'll come to do some more specific work on the shoulders. So I'm going to bring the client's wrist to their low back. You can see that was just kind of one fluid movement. Now, if the client has really tight shoulders or limited mobility and that doesn't feel comfortable to them, you can definitely skip and avoid and just leave the arm down on the table. So then my bottom hand is just kind of stabilizing right now. And my top hand, I'm palm pressing into the border of the scapula. Just warming up the area that we're about to work in more detail with our thumb presses. So then I'll come up and place my thumb into the edge of the scapula as my top hand tractions the scapula towards me. And you can see on that lower border of the scapula, we're really starting to work in more deeply. Can alternate my hands and switch if that feels more comfortable. Can use the edge of your fingers, or if you'd like to stick with your thumb, you can work up and down the edge a few passes. This feels really nice to people that have a lot of shoulder tension. And then we'll bring the arm back down, and we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. And I encourage you to explore. Does it feel more comfortable for you to work across the table like I was just showing? Or to stay on the same side like I'm showing right now? And you can switch and use your fingers. And sometimes I'll even just kind of come and press pull the top edge of the scapula, because I always tend to hold a lot of tension in that area. And then we'll bring the arms back down. And you guessed it, we're going to come back into doing a nice palm walk down the back again. One note about that last move is you really want to make sure you have short nails, because otherwise it won't feel very comfortable to the client receiving. And we've done all this really yummy work for the main portion of the back. Now we're going to come up and do some nice thumb pressing into the tops of the shoulders and the neck. So just doing some thumb presses, working at the top border of the scapula. Press in and move the fingers a little bit wider apart, coming out towards the edge of the shoulder. And again, rule of thumb, never pressing directly onto bone. So stopping before you reach the acromion process, which is the joint where the shoulder meets the clavicle. And just making a couple of passes there. And then to work on the neck, I like to come to one side and thumb press into the muscles of the neck. So going up and down a couple passes, really trying to target those thick ropey muscles that can be tight with your thumb. And we'll switch to come on to the other side. So my fingers in this particular variation of the move are only there for stabilization, and my thumb is doing the majority of the work. And done a couple of passes there. If you want, you can do the same thing with your fingers on either side now that you're kind of familiar with the territory. Pressing in simultaneously on both sides of the neck. And then this puts us in a really perfect position to work on the scalp. So you can take a more generalized approach and just do some thumb circles. Not necessarily a traditional Thai massage technique. Or if you want to do very specific work, you can bring the thumbs together at the midline and gently press into the scalp, working up the midline as far towards the front of the face as you can get. And then we'll separate the thumbs about 1 client thumb width apart. And we'll trace down another line, working a little bit wider. And then making our final pass up as we widen our thumbs a little bit more. And then again, if you want to close with some nice circles to the scalp, just kind of say goodbye to everything. And we'll make one more pass down with our palm walking. Coming to a close. Again, my name is Meera Hoffman. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to find out more about me and my practice, you can check out my website at meerahoffman.com. And I hope you'll consider joining the Psychetruth YouTube community. You can favorite this video to come back and watch it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel where we have thousands of videos here to help empower you on your journey into health and wellness. Thank you and have a blessed day. Namaste.